Hi, welcome back to the Promising Future podcast. This is Lynn. This is my friend Gwen, and
Hi.
today we have a really special guest. I almost called her a guest because I just said Gwen, but yeah, we have a really special guest. We have my friend Willow. So I guess introduce yourself.
Hey y'all, thanks for having me. My name's Willow. I don't know what else to. I didn't plan for this at all. This is a video game podcast. I like video games. I've been playing them for a long time. So, thank you for having me
Yeah,
on.
yeah. Willow, what bands were you in?
What band? I was in a band called Street Smart Cyclist. I was also in a band called Snowing. Those are the two big ones. I would say.
Yeah, yeah, sounds about right. But
Yeah.
yeah, we talk about video games and music and a number of other things, but I want to hear about how the hell you ended up in the Criterion closet one time.
Oh wow, hard hitting questions first. Yeah, I for money I make websites. Believe it or not, I don't or didn't make money from playing music. As crazy as it sounds. So I do
A
that,
huge
and
shocker.
I know I make some dollars a year every year, but not too many. Um, yeah, I'm a web developer, and I work the company I worked for 4 or 5 years ago. Like Criterion was our client, and we would work at the office on the flash sale days. So I only got to go once, but they like knew I loved movies. So they were like very kind to me and let me go in there and like take selfies and be really weird. And they let me take a movie home, which was really nice. But I froze and I was like, someone else pick it for me. And then I kind of didn't like it, but that's okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Um, I know one of the first things we talked about after we met was we talked about the Lone Wolf and Cub movies, which I
Yes.
know have a Criterion release that is very expensive because it's like 6 movies or something.
Yeah. I have that
Uh,
floating around somewhere. It's all beat up. It's like my most beat up Criterion because it's got like a cardboard sleeve. It's not like plastic, so every time I need to move it, it gets all like dinged
yeah,
up. But it's well loved.
yeah. But those movies are. Gwen, have you ever seen the Lone Wolf and Cub movies?
Oh yeah, yeah, those are great.
Oh, was it? I think Jizza sampled the American dub on Liquid Swords,
Yeah,
from what I
yeah, a bunch.
remember.
Yeah.
Oh, what's it called in the American dub? I can't remember now.
Oh, it has a really funny name. I know that. Let me look them up.
Yeah, this will come to me like
Lone
halfway through
Wolf.
recording, and I'll just blurt it out. But we'll figure
Right.
it out.
Lone Wolf and Cub. Uh, I see. I have the power of the internet on my side. Um,
You're
yeah, Lone
googling
Wolf and
live.
Cub is really funny. I really love how they do the blood effects on those movies. Like whenever somebody's limb or head gets severed, they just shoot out like pink paint.
Yo, yeah, it's just like pink geysers. It's amazing.
It's so funny. One of my favorite the moment that sticks out the most from any of the Lone Wolf and Cub movies is this one where Ogami Ito and Daigoro, they're on a like some woodland path or something, and this woman she's an assassin sent to kill them, and
Hmm.
her weapons are disguised in vegetables. So she's just like throwing
Yes.
vegetables at this samurai, and then he like decapitates her.
That's so
Uh,
funny.
it was Shogun Assassin. That's what the
Shogun
American
Oh
Assassin.
version
wow.
is
Yes,
called.
thank you.
Yeah. Um, man, those are funny. A friend of mine gave me the first volume of the manga, and I was really shocked by it because it doesn't read right to left like manga usually does. It's like an American
Oh.
comic reading left to right. It's like, what the fuck is this? That's
Mm.
still on my that's on
Is
my
it the Dark
shelf.
Horse one, like the big chunky omnibus thing?
Yeah, yeah, it's those ones.
Hmm.
I have it and have never read it, and so I didn't even know it didn't read like the manga direction because I don't think I'd even like opened it up. But it's on my shelf. I'm just a poser and never opened
Yeah.
it.
I
I have a
think
lot of the.
manga has a habit of doing that. It just kind of sits on your shelf.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh, you
I
call
have
I,
that
so
I have
many on
a
my
lot of
shelf that I
the.
have never
Oh
read.
yeah.
I'm looking at my shelf, so I probably sound like I'm distant now, but yeah, there's a ton, and I'm very ashamed of it. And I
yeah.
look at it every day, and I go, I'm bad for not reading
Yeah.
these books.
Got a couple myself.
It's called failing the spine check. You know, you can tell if you've read something because the spine will be damaged.
Oh, the spine
But
is crisp
unless
and
you're,
uncreased for sure.
yeah. I don't know. One, I'm trying to think of some other films that have Criterion releases. I was always really shocked to find that there was at least one Michael Bay film that got a Criterion release.
Oh yeah, was it
Which
Heat?
one?
No, Heat's Michael Mann.
Oh yeah. Oops. Can we edit that out?
Of course.
Uh, yeah.
Wait, what? What?
No, it
Michael
was,
Bay is
Yeah,
a
what is it though?
Criterion.
Yeah, what
I
is it?
think, I think it might be The Rock.
Oh my God, you're
Wait,
right.
really?
I Yeah, it's like The Rock is
Yeah,
a really
the Rock,
early one too. It's like number
Yeah.
10
yeah,
or something
Okay.
crazy.
yeah, it's out of print. It has been long out of print.
Man,
It doesn't
I
say
don't.
what number it is on the Criterion web. It's Spine 108.
Okay. Oh, that's like wicked early. That's like in the first couple years
Oh
because they do
wow.
like what 4 or 5 a month, something like that. Yeah. I don't have the
I
sway
think
I used
so.
to there,
Yeah,
so I can't tell them to reprint it. I would love to have that. Just like a
yeah,
4K special edition of The Rock with like a little essay to read. Oh, that
yeah.
sounds so great.
Uh, my first experience with Criterion was the big Godzilla collection they did a couple of years ago.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, I have that, and it's one of my
It's
prized
awesome.
possessions.
It's
Oh,
like
what was
so
my
nice.
first? My first was The Killers. Oh God, by wow, it's amazing I go on a podcast and I just like cannot think of anyone's name. Stanley Kubrick. It's like a really early Stanley Kubrick movie.
Oh right.
The first one I actually picked up was Eraserhead. I was in high school. And I
Yes.
didn't know anything about Criterion. I just like thought it was like a DVD of Eraserhead.
Oh,
And
that's really
then
funny.
teacher I had comes in and he's like talking about the Godzilla Criterion release and how he pre-ordered it. And I'm like, that sounds cool. And then I check and it's like $100 and I'm like, I can't afford this.
Yeah, they make them really expensive. They're 30% off right now. It's the summer. Oh, it's the merch sale. Actually, you know what? I just realized that my first Criterion was not The Killers. When I was like a teenager, I was probably like 16 or 17. It was when all the blockbusters were closing. What this is like telling everyone how old I am.
Yeah.
Um, but they were like selling everything, and I bought the Royal Tenenbaums, like the double disc set. So that was my first Criterion, actually.
Oh.
Um, I don't actually own many. So I used to work at a library and people would always donate DVDs and CDs and occasionally video games. I remember I got a copy of Mario Golf for the GameCube and I got
Yes,
a copy of Mirror's Edge for the 360, but
yes.
that's not important. But
I think both those games are
I
very
remember
important, but keep
somebody,
going.
I actually agree, but I got a copy of some Criterion release and I can't remember for the life of me what it was. Because it's probably in a box somewhere. But the next one I think I got was I only own two Criterions, and they're Eraserhead and Memories of Murder. So
Oh,
good
that
ones
if
to
you're gonna
have.
have two,
Those are pretty
that's
good.
pretty good.
Right. Um. Fuck yeah. But with Godzilla, one thing I kind of wanted to bring up was uh Godzilla minus one. Are you kind of aware what the deal with the director of the movie is?
Oh no, tell me. Is it bad? Am I gonna feel bad about liking it now?
Uh, Gwen, do you want to go into this? Didn't your friend Gray talk about this?
Yeah, probably. Sounds like something
Uh,
we should talk about.
I'm pretty sure the director is like a right-wing crypto guy.
Oh
Oh, is he a
no.
crypto guy? I knew he's
Yeah,
kind of conservative with it, but I didn't realize he was a crypto guy. That's
I
strange.
think that's what your friend said, that
Mm,
he was like a crypto guy. I
I'll have to
might,
ask.
don't quote me on that, but I came out of the movie and I was like, I really like this. And then I was like, but the politics are a little suspicious here.
Yeah, it's good, but it is a little it is a bit of a right leaning movie, but it is good. I did like
Um,
it.
yeah, and I also found out that the director did the animated adaptation of Dragon Quest V. He
What?
was the director of that. Yeah,
Whoa.
Really?
yeah. There was this adaptation of Dragon Quest V called Your Story that was done a few years ago, and it was on
Hmm.
Netflix, and it was the director's the same guy who directed Godzilla Minus One.
I did not
And I'm
realize
I'm
that.
starting to piece this together, and he was probably a fan of the series because of Koichi Sugiyama.
Oh my god. I didn't
Um,
even think about that.
because also Sugiyama did the soundtrack for Godzilla versus Biollante, and as soon as he died,
Oh.
that movie got dumped onto streaming finally.
Oh. Huh.
Hmm. I've
Well,
never
do you
seen
know
that
what the
one.
deal
So
with?
much.
Do you know what
Yeah.
the deal is with Koichi Sugiyama?
No, I don't. Please tell me. We're being revealed how big of a poser I am, like minute by minute here. But please make
No,
me
that's
not a poser.
fine. It's
Uh, so the key kind of development team for okay, the three main people who were always behind Dragon Quest were Yuji Horii, who designed and wrote everything,
Mm-hmm.
and then of course the late Akira Toriyama. Uh, and then it was Koichi Sugiyama. And in American releases of the game, when the games were able to support this fidelity of music, you'll notice that the soundtracks are not orchestrated. They are MIDI soundtracks.
Mm-hmm.
And this is because Koichi Sugiyama was a Japanese war crime denier who uh, who was so racist that he didn't want Americans to hear his music.
What? Oh my
yeah.
god. You
He
know,
was a bit of a
I've
psycho.
I've always wondered why those games always just had like it sounds like these strings are just played on a keyboard, and it's because it's true.
yeah.
Yeah. Uh, and uh, after he died, Dragon Quest XI got the orchestrated soundtrack with the special edition, and then
Yeah.
Godzilla versus Biollante finally got put on streaming, and it's like this is because of Sugiyama, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So just like the moment he died, like he's fresh in the ground. Then they
Yeah.
just released all this stuff despite him. I love that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
incredible.
It's really funny.
Uh, but yeah, didn't I remember you telling me, wasn't Dragon Warrior your first ever RPG?
Yeah, it was like the first game I remember playing, really. My parents got me a Nintendo, like an NES. And it was actually at my grandparents' house. I feel like for like people my age, that was a big thing. Just like you need something cool at your grandparents' house to like make you want to go there. So like my Nintendo was there. And I think they just bought me like just like a box of games and a system from someone, and I still have my cartridge and the instructions and the little slipcover for Dragon
Wow.
Warrior here. And I have
Yeah.
like Final Fantasy 1, like the first one. I still have that cartridge. Like
Oh
I have
yeah.
all of these cartridges somewhere, but I definitely hung on to Dragon Warrior because that was like probably the first game I ever beat, which is crazy because it's like I was probably like 8 years old, and it was like an RPG that I like. There was no internet, and it was just like super easy to get stuck. Like if I get stuck in an RPG now, I'm just like I'm not even like using my brain. I'm just gonna look this up. Like time's ticking on my
Yeah.
life. I need to like move on.
I do the same. Yeah.
I honestly I went back to play it like 2 years ago. I like came out for phones. You know those like terrible phone remasters they did.
Oh yeah.
And those are the Switch ports right now too, which sucks. I like
I
rebought
know.
one, and I was just like, why is this just the phone game? Like this is the worst. I've totally. Oh yeah, yeah. I remember like I was like 20 minutes in, and I was like, dude, I'm stuck. I don't know where to go. I don't remember what to do. Like, how did I beat this when I was like a child? It was crazy. They really needed a lot from you back then.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and Dragon Quest. So I think like 2 or 3 years ago, they announced they were doing a 2D HD remaster of Dragon Quest 3, and then they officially revealed it the other day, and they're also
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh, we're doing Dragon Quest 1 and 2 in addition to this."
Oh, I'm so excited for those. They look beautiful. It's gonna be so good.
Yeah. Um, which Dragon Quest games have you played?
Oh my god. So definitely the all the NES ones I played at some point. I think I like lost the
Oh,
plot
okay.
for a little while. And I like wasn't playing RPGs, especially like super long like turn-based JRPGs, which is like a bummer. I wish I would have never
Yeah.
kind of gotten away from those. There's like I feel like I have such a big like pile of shame of like games I've never finished. I'm also a serial like unfinisher of games. I just like don't finish
Oh yeah.
games. I'm terrible. Um so I played the first few on NES, and then like the last two. What are we at now? 12, 11, 13, something like.
11.
We're at
Yeah.
11.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So like 11 I played,
11 came
and
out in 2017.
yeah. Oh
So,
god, that feels like the brand new one to me still, and that's like 7 years ago. Oof.
Is it really that old? That's crazy.
yeah. It's the thing with 11 though is that it got a remaster because it was released on it's not really a
True.
remaster. There's something
Yeah.
kind of funny that I'll get into, but they released a definitive edition of the game for Switch and then put that onto other consoles. But what's
Mm.
funny, from what I know about Dragon Quest XI Special Edition, is that because it's a direct port of the Switch edition, it looks worse.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
It's
really
like it's
funny.
negligible, but it does look
Uh,
worse. Yeah.
The Switch one is the one
Um,
I played the most of. I bought it for um Xbox like when it came out. Was that on the one, or was that on like the current generation? No, that's too old to be like current generation, I guess. Anyway, the Switch is the one I
yeah,
played
it
the
was
most.
on the one.
yeah.
And I've like
I'm
at the
playing
time.
through.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm playing through Dragon Quest V on the DS
Mm.
right now with a couple of my friends.
Oh,
Uh, that game is phenomenal.
It's
Uh,
oh,
very good.
that makes me want to
if you
play
haven't
it.
played that one, you gotta play it. Yeah,
I don't
because
think I.
so
I
the thing with Dragon Quest is that 1 through 4 were on the NES and they were called
Yeah.
Dragon Warrior, and
mm-hmm.
then I think because of coding issues, they couldn't get 5 and 6 to the United States, so they were Japan only until they got their DS re-releases.
Mm-hmm.
Then 7 came out on the PS1. And then 8 was the first game to come out of the Square Enix merger. Uh, and that's when it became Dragon Quest. And then 9 was on the DS. 10 is an MMORPG, and it never got a US release. And then 11 came out, like 2017, I think.
Whoa! I didn't know there was an MMO. They were just like Ape and Final Fantasy. So we got to make an MMO one now. That's just numbered, and it's really confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The I've heard good. So what's weird is that Dragon Quest 9 and 10 are in their own separate continuity. There's like a whole Dragon Quest continuity that is based entirely on educated guesses and hypotheticals.
What?
Uh, yeah, so 1, 2, and 3 are explicitly connected. 3 is a
Right.
prequel to 1 and 2, and then 11 is a prequel to 3. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's all that's certain. And then 6, 4, and 5 are the Zenithian trilogy. And so there's
Right.
a theory during the crux of Dragon Quest XI when the hero kind of, spoiler alert, breaks his sword. Uh, it creates the two separate timelines because if you look at the Sword of Light that you wield in all those games, versus the Zenithian sword and the Zenithian trilogy, it just looks like a reforged Sword of Light. So,
One
I've
of
never
my
heard that.
favorite
This is new to
things
me.
one of my favorite things about like I feel like this especially happens in like JRPGs is when people like retroactively try to piece together timelines, but like none of this
Oh
was
yeah.
planned. Like they were just like doing their best and like trying to put games out and like just stuff, there's like continuity problems and they forgot they did stuff and but people will go back and like just try to be like, no, that was on purpose. Like they do it with Legend of Zelda like crazy. Like y'all know this.
Oh
Like
yeah.
there's just like rabbit holes on the internet you can go on, like a 4-hour YouTube video like putting the games in order. It's just like, oh, it already started, they announced that new one, and people were like, I know where this is in the timeline. It's like, oh my god, y'all.
Oh my
yeah,
god.
because the worlds in that game seems to be the same one as Link to the Past.
Hmm.
Uh, but that would mean that Link to the Past, like I don't like Link's Awakening, my personal second favorite Zelda,
Oh,
is
I
a
love that
direct
one.
sequel to Link to the Past. Yeah. So, did you know that Mark Frost worked on that one?
Yeah, I was actually just gonna say there's like some Twin Peaks like references in that, like the owl, and there's like
Yeah.
other lines of dialogue that are kind of like oblique references. They're
I
kind
th
of escaping me now, but
I'm pretty sure last year, he just tweeted like, "Oh, Nintendo had me in to consult Legend of Zelda game in the 90s or something." I wonder if that ever came out. And
Wonder if it ever came out.
yeah, man, it came out.
Yeah.
yeah, I'll find it. Mark Frost Zelda, but uh, yeah, he quote retweeted something like, anybody ever
Oh.
play this? I met with them about it and gave them some ideas. Never tried it myself.
Anybody
That's so
ever play
funny.
this? It's incredible.
I can't believe that happened. But yeah, people are like, see, it seems like the new Zelda game happens on the same like map as Link to the Past. So people are like already piecing together timeline stuff, and it's like, I don't know, man. Does that people saw the two different types of Zoras in Zelda, and they're like, what does this mean for the timeline? Oh,
Well, I can't wait to buy
That's
that
so
and
funny.
probably never finish it, but I'll play it.
uh, Willow, I remember talking to you about it when I was playing it, but didn't you play Xenogears?
Yeah, I have it downloaded and I like started it. Is that it? Was it on Switch? I think I downloaded it on Switch. I always have these like big
No,
ideas. Like,
that's
no, it's not on
so
Switch.
Xenogears is on. God, this is speaking of games where people try to piece things together.
Oh god.
So Xenogears is from 1998. It was published by Square.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
And
PS1. Right.
then yeah. So the dude who made it, Katsuya Takahashi, he worked on Chrono Trigger. From what I remember, he wanted to make 6 different video games, but he was only able to make one. So he got the one game, Xenogears, and it got like the second disc of Xenogears is kind of infamous because it's basically a visual novel. Because they ran out of time and money. So, so
And
there's a
it
three.
owns, by the way.
Yeah, it rules. I love that part of Xenogears. Just them sitting in front of the chair and like the most like lofty
Yeah.
dialogue possible. Yeah, it rules. But there's like a 300-page companion book that was only ever officially released in Japan called Perfect Works that details what Takahashi's plan was for like the history of that series. And then he leaves Square and he starts his own company, Monolith Soft. And actually, Gwen, did you know that Monolith Soft, I'm pretty sure they helped out with the Final Fantasy game Dirge of Cerberus?
Did they?
Yeah, I just saw this on Twitter. I'll
Oh, that's
fact check
cool.
that.
I love
But
I love Dirge of Cerberus actually.
Is that the shooter?
isn't that the one where Vincent?
It's the
Yeah.
shooter, yeah. It's
Yeah.
so funny.
Yeah.
Uh,
But I like Vincent and Valentine, so I was primed to like that one.
uh, yeah. So he makes Xenosaga, and it was also supposed to be 6 games, but he only got 3.
Only got three.
And you have to take out a liability payment to actually own Xenosaga 3.
Yeah.
It's one of those games. I think it is the third most expensive PS2 game, and my friend Grant owns it.
What?
Whoa.
He owns all of them.
That's
Yeah, he owns
crazy.
every Xeno game, which is like wild.
I'm looking
But
at
and then
on eBay right now. There's like a sealed copy of the first
Oh
one for
no.
$300 new.
Christ.
Woof.
I'm playing through the first one right now, and it's something. But
Oh, did you start
yeah,
it?
yeah, I started it.
Oh man, I've only played like the first hour, so I have no idea what happens
That's
after that.
Yeah, that's the point I'm at too. It's really funny because it starts off and it's like a dig site, and then they discovered the
Yeah.
Zohar, and it's like,
Yeah.
holy shit, it's the Zohar. They don't call it that, and then it just
Yeah.
skips 4,000 years into the future.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Oh man, okay.
So
I'm gonna try to play this illicitly now, I think. And also never finish it, but
Yeah.
I want to see the beginning at least.
I, you really need to. You'd have to emulate it, but
Yeah.
Gears is like one. It's probably my favorite game. It is definitely something. But back to the whole thing with Tetsuya Takahashi and his many attempts to get a 6 game series made. But yeah, so then he finally made Xenoblade with Nintendo. And
Mm-hmm.
he got his 6 games, and they have like a deal with Bandai Namco or something like that, and they can reference stuff from Xenosaga.
Whoa.
So Cosmos, one of the main characters from uh, Saga, is in
Yeah.
Xenoblade 2. And there's a bunch of other fan theory stuff, but the most you get out of Gears, because Square Enix sucks,
Yeah.
is like some throwaway line of dialogue on a radio transmission in Xenoblade 3's final DLC,
That
where
guy looks like Faye.
he looks like Faye, yeah, but
Yeah.
they have like a radio transmission where they reference something from fucking Perfect Words.
Oh my god.
And it's like, what are they doing? But yeah, Xenogears is fascinating. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
don't
looks
even know where
nuts.
to
Like
begin with that one.
I really want to play it. And I will. Yeah, I'll emulate it. I built like an emulator out of a Raspberry Pi, and I could run PS1 games. I need to dig that out and see if it's still working. Maybe I can try
Oh
to get
wow.
it.
Yeah, but Gears is ridiculously long. It is ridiculously dense. And it is often quite frustrating, but it's worth it. It's worth it to see it's
Yeah.
worth it to see the point when you realize that despite Evangelion kind of coming out when Xenogears had already began development, there are a lot of like weird similar aesthetic similarities between the two. And Gwen, would you say that Shinji Ikari and like Faye are kind of the same character?
In many ways. In
Yeah.
in many different ways.
I just Willow, I know you like Evangelion. Uh, because I know this because like when I first met you, I think I was like the second. It was the snowing show with the where the floor almost collapsed,
Oh yeah. Oh, what a great day
and
in
you
my
were wearing
life.
you were yeah you were wearing the Evangelion shirt,
Oh
and
yeah.
I don't know why I remember that.
It was a good shirt.
Yeah.
I know why you remembered it because it's a sick shirt.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to like
Oh,
rewatch that, and I feel like I've watched I've seen it all the way through, like twice, at least once, and I always go to restart it. But I have seen the first episode of that like 40 times. I feel like because I'm always like I'm gonna rewatch Evangelion finally, and then I'll do one, and I'm just like hell yeah, and then I never get back to it. It's awful.
I do that frequently
Yeah.
with Twin Peaks,
Yeah.
where I'll just start
Okay,
it and then
well,
I'll be like, and I'll like, I love this. I love Twin Peaks, and then I'll get distracted, and then I just won't continue with it.
Yeah, I've
the
seen the first
first
episode of that
episode of
show
Twin
like
Peaks,
5 times.
it's so
Yeah.
good. It's like one of the best first
It's
episodes of anything. I'm
incredible.
pretty sure.
Yeah,
I
one of the
took like
best first episodes of television ever.
I took a film history class in high school, and like he showed us that instead of like Fire Walk with Me, because we had to be able to watch it in like
Oh my god.
school. So
Yeah.
we watched like the first two because I think it's kind of like a two-parter. I don't know if it specifically does like a to be continued at the end of the first one, but it's like kind of a
Yeah,
self-contained
I
thing.
think it
And then
does with
Yeah, it kind of is though. Yeah.
I think it does with because I know the first episode because I rewatched it
Yeah.
somewhat recently. It ends with Jacoby grabbing Laura's necklace
yes.
Right.
out of the ground.
hmm
Yeah.
Oh shit! Should I watch that tonight?
Uh,
Oh, I have so many things I want to do in my life.
I thought for a second you were talking about rewatching the snowing set from when the floor almost
What?
collapsed, and I was
Wait.
like,
Oh, no, once is enough for
Why
that.
would you do that? Yeah.
That does exist. That's on YouTube
Uh,
somewhere. And I watched it once, and I was like, "This
yeah.
sucks. We sounded really good," and it got for a change, and it got cut short. Oh, what a bummer.
Oh.
Uh, I just remember my buddies Matt and Vinny from Mulan. They're going to that show and they get there really late and they're like show's canceled. The floor almost collapsed and they walk in to get merch and it's like creaking up and down or something like that.
I I remember some
Yeah.
people like came up to me after and were like, "Oh man, we drove like 5 hours and like it was still so awesome." And I just felt so bad. I was just like crying and like
Oh.
apologizing to people because I was like, "I'm so sorry you drove so far and you only got to see like 15 minutes of music." Yeah, it was like that was such a gnarly time. I don't think we should have played that show in
You're
retrospect. I think we were just like, yeah, we are like a little basement band. But yeah, I think we like really miscalculated how many people would show up to that.
Ooh.
And also it was after a wrestling show. Chris Reject runs like a wrestling promotion in the Lehigh Valley. And he always has bands after the show. There was a crazy, I think the first one was like wrestling and then Spirit of the Beehive and Mannequin Pussy. I have like the poster of that in my living
Oh my
room.
god.
In retrospect, like insane. But it was always like you if you paid for the wrestling, you got to see the show. But for this one, Chris was like, I think we should at least sell like tickets to the show because people might not want to see wrestling, but they might want to see y'all play. And I was like, that's a great idea. He's like, yeah, so many people leave after the wrestling. It'll be fine. And then nobody left after the wrestling. So it was just like twice as many people that should have been in there. Yeah, and there's like all this stuff downstairs. There's like bowling lanes and like arcade machines and a bar. But I guess people down there were like, it looks like the floor is going to like cave in. And it probably would have killed people. So I'm glad we stopped.
Oh no. Jesus.
I remember
Sometime.
when I saw you guys 2 years ago. Uh, the problems with that show were they moved it outside because they wanted to accommodate more people,
hmm
and then the power went out.
Yep. Yeah, we're cursed.
Yeah.
We cannot get through. I've always made the joke we can't get through a set on this continent without something going wrong. Because like we went to Japan and played like the most like normal like incident free shows. It was so smooth every single one. And then like the second we got back, because that show was right when we got back, it was just like chaos and a disaster right away. So yeah, we're very cursed. But the one in Philly was great, the DIY Super Bowl. I was a little nervous about it
Yeah.
being outside. It was dusty. I was coughing up dust for like 3 days
Oh
after
my
that.
God.
Oh no.
Yeah, I was too. Uh, I remember I was wearing this Brazuk shirt and it was white. That shirt is still
Yeah,
stained two
not
years later,
anymore.
no
Oh
matter how
God.
many times I've watched it. Um, yeah, the dust was really bad. There are people climbing over the Yuki Club fence at that show.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, that was a wild one. It was so fun though. I wish we could do it again, but we probably won't. We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, I was just on Twitter recently. I was like, here are a bunch of bands I like that are just probably never gonna play shows again. And everyone was like, Snowing are gonna play another show. And I was like, I don't know, I wouldn't count on that.
You know, I also always think and say that, but like something always comes up. Yeah, I always like convince
Yeah,
everyone to do it. So I've always just it's
it's
just got
like,
to be like for a good cause. I don't just want to do it to do it. Like I don't want like money from it. I want it
right.
to be like a benefit
Yeah.
or like something to bring awareness to something or other. Yeah, I have like
Yeah,
no desire to just like start playing shows again. Just like going on tour sounds like a
right.
form of torture to me. Just like no, I just want to be
Yeah.
alone and like read my
Uh,
books. Like
yeah, because Algernon did that whole reunion tour.
yeah,
And
crazy.
I think that they only kind of recently wrapped everything up.
Yeah, it was
It's
so
like, how do
long.
you?
I cannot
Um,
imagine getting in a van with like boys, and like just driving around. I just like I would lose my mind in like 3 days, I think. I love them all dearly, they're like family, but it's just like, man, I can't do this. But we'll see.
yeah. Gwen, didn't you and one of your friends see Algernon on that tour? Because I know I did. I saw them
Yes,
in New York
yes, we
City.
did. We saw him in Atlanta. That was fun.
Yeah.
They were
Surprised you saw
so.
them in Atlanta.
Ooh.
Well, there's no shows here, so I have to drive.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like just as far to Atlanta as it is to Nashville, so it's not really like much of a difference.
Makes sense.
I just went to Atlanta for the
And a
first
lot
time,
more.
really, and I really loved it. I
Oh,
want to go
really?
back. Yeah,
Atlanta's
I had a.
Atlanta's awesome, actually.
It's tight.
That's really cool.
Slutty vegan. Oh, I ate there like 3 times in 2 days. Amazing.
Yeah, no, it's no, I like it.
The furthest down the East Coast that I've been, as an adult, not like a little baby,
Yeah,
has been I did go to Georgia when I was a lot younger, but the farthest I've been is Baltimore in Maryland.
no,
So,
really.
yeah, Willow, that was the day after I saw you back in November, and I tripped and I got a concussion.
Oh
God.
yeah, I forgot about that. Oh, because y'all played
Yeah,
there the next day on that tour, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, I was in Baltimore, and it was my best friend Ash, and then my ex-girlfriend, and we were just walking around. And like we're there for 5 minutes and I trip on a sidewalk and I sprain my arm and get a concussion. I'm just like, I'll be
Oh,
fine. And
oh my
then I'm
god.
talking to my friend Tuna. Uh, Shout out to my friend Tuna. She's awesome. But I was talking to her and I'm like, okay, this is what I did. And I tried to mime like slamming my head against the ground on a table, but I actually slammed my head
Oh my,
against the table. And it just made
no
everything
way.
worse. And I was like,
Oh god.
and I had to endure screamo music after that, like four bands.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
But,
I shouldn't
but
say that. My friends are gonna get mad at me if they hear me talking shit on screamo, but it's never my cup of tea. I don't
oh
know. There are
yeah,
some bands I really loved, but they were just like I feel like whenever anyone started a band, that's just like the first band you have because it's like kind of easy to do competently. I don't want to get shit on for this, but it's just like you can make like a pretty good screamo band and not be very good. But like the really good ones are so fucking
right.
good. That's kind of how I still feel. But
Yeah, I know you really like the Civil War in France.
I
because
do.
last time
Yeah.
I saw you, yeah, it was at one of their shows. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
they're
have
great.
a Civil
And I
War
know
in
them.
France sticker that I'm looking at right now because it's on my water bottle.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, I know them and they're lovely, so they're different, obviously. They don't count.
right. Um, yeah, going back to your comment about, it being a lot of people's first band, uh, Screamo is really trendy right now.
I like legitimately cannot believe it's back. I thought we were done.
It's
Like
insane.
it's
Yeah.
crazy to me that that came back. I should have not doubted it. Like everything's cyclical. Like there's been 40 waves of emo. Like I should have seen it coming. But I'm like
That's true.
pretty shocked. But I'm okay with it now cuz it's just like very queer and I like obviously I'm very supportive of that. So like everyone should keep doing screamo.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just funny to see all these kids who it's like their first band and they're playing to massive audiences because screamo is like trendy. Same with hardcore, to be fair. It's like hardcore screamo with a budget is a really funny idea to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, like
Um,
there are huge hardcore bands. Like Knox Loose is huge, and
Yeah.
I know.
also what are they called? The band that just sounds like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Turnstile.
Oh, right. Yeah.
They sound more like Faith No More
Yeah,
to me, actually.
they were at the
Okay, yeah.
Grammys.
That is
Crazy.
And
wild.
it's
Yeah, I
and
can't
it's
believe
like
that.
this is a band that has a Hate 56 video and it's like they're at the Grammys.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's a weird world we're living in.
What
It like weird, like
Yeah.
niche genre bands can get huge. Like it's really crazy. It's a weird world. The internet's crazy. It
Versus
made everything
Self
so wild.
are the band Versus Self, they're big on TikTok. There's one song that just is like a TikTok audio sound, and it's super viral.
That's
Getting big
crazy.
on TikTok is like I think when that started happening, that was when I was like, "Oh my god, I'm getting old now." Like this is like a way like people start bands to like try to do that, and that's like a viable way
I
to get
know.
like a bunch of people to like your band. And like I am still just like, well, I'll record it and I'll like make a band camp and I'll like share it. I'm still like I feel like I'm a dinosaur now.
Right.
That's the only way I would know how to do it. But like people are like targeting getting big on TikTok and like Instagram reels, and that's like bonkers. Like good for
I
you if you can do it, but it's just like such a way of like
Yeah.
doing things that is like so foreign to me.
I I remember my friend Sam from Teen Suicide. We were talking about something. Uh and he mentioned how one of his songs, I think it's Haunt Me times three. It's just really big on TikTok. So there's a huge discrepancy between like the listens for his other songs and that one. And he's like, I don't know, it pays the bills. Like, what can you do?
I would
It's
love to have
also
my bills
weird
paid by
that,
TikTok.
Yeah.
right. It's weird because TikTok is like, discussing bands getting big off of it. It is a primary decider in trends in music. Like the whole new gaze scene with like Fleshwater and like Tagabo and Soulblind, all those bands,
Oh, yeah.
like that got big on TikTok because Failure and Superheaven are big on TikTok. Like, and Deftones. Deftones are a big TikTok band. It's like, how did this happen?
I don't go on TikTok at all. Like I don't use it, so it's really insane when I find out like what bands are getting big on there. It feels insane.
That's how I feel too. It's
Yeah.
like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I don't
Uh,
go on there either. Um, I'm like every millennial. I get my TikTok when people make it into Instagram Reels, and I see it on there. But I do like get it
yeah.
eventually. But you're right. Like really, like I am always hearing like
Yeah.
Deftone songs, and I'm just like, where is this coming from?
So
People just love layered guitars, and that band rules. So I'm
yeah,
okay with them being
that's
like
true.
big with the kids.
Yeah.
I don't know what else is like big on TikTok, but going back to what I was saying about Versus Self getting big on TikTok, it's also created this huge market for bootleg merch of active bands. and like a huge
God.
resale market for screamo merch. It's like, what?
It's like a Black Mirror episode a little bit, like a personally catered Black Mirror episode to me. Just like it's not necessarily like bad, but it's like fucking bizarre, you know?
Yeah.
Really weird. I tangentially related, but the first time I mean Willow, you know my friend Jasmine and her husband Angel.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I love them
but
dearly.
the first time, yeah, they're the sweetest. But the first time I met them, the two of them in Rhode Island, Angel was wearing like a vintage snowing shirt, and they were telling me how people would come up to them like, "I'll pay you for this. I'll pay you to like $200 up front for that shirt." And they're like, "No."
If someone wants to pay me
Uh,
$200, I will get a new one printed and just wash it 100 times, and then they can have it. Instant vintage T-shirt.
That's yeah, that's a good point.
That's my new
Um,
racket.
I'm still. This is like again one of the first things that I spoke to you about, but I know I was a SUNY Purchase student, and Snowing played there
Hmm.
with Tiger's Jaw and Hostage Calm, from what I remember.
Yes. Yeah. That show was one of my
And
favorite shows ever. It was so fun. Sorry, I cut you off. I just wanted to tell you how much I loved that show.
you're good. Yeah, I just remember you telling me how you had the poster somewhere, and you just haven't like gotten it yet.
Yeah, it's at my parents' house. I have like a whole drawer of like crap, like just old flyers and stuff that I kept, and everyone used to make fun of me for keeping. But who's laughing now? Because I have all this cool stuff. Um, uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I have
Um,
that. I have a poster of us. We played in Indiana, and we played with Good Luck. That was like one of my favorite shows ever. Just like randomly played with them before. I mean, they were never like big, but they're coming back. Also, they just played in Philly, and I didn't know about it until like the day of. But I loved that band so much.
whoa.
But yeah, I have a ton of old posters somewhere. I should like document them at some point, probably.
yeah, that would be really cool.
That's cool.
Um, I know you played with Algernon Cadwallader a bunch of times. I remember seeing this flyer. It might have been like 1994 Joyce Manor, Algernon, and then Snowing.
Yeah, that was in. We did like when we did our big U.S. tour. We like played with Joyce Manor like 4 shows in a row. They like came up the coast of California with us. Like we met them in San Diego. They hadn't like blown up yet, but when we played with them, I was just like, this band is gonna be like famous, and then they kind of got famous, and I felt like I called it.
Yeah.
I remember kids were climbing into the rafters and dropping down to
Oh
crowd
my
surf,
god.
like an eight
That's
foot
pretty
drop.
scary.
Yeah, it was really scary. I was already pretty like anti crowd surfing back then, but I was just like, you're not even like when you're diving off the stage, you have like horizontal momentum, you know, like it kind of like cancels
Right.
out the downward momentum, but you're just dropping like a stone. You're just gonna like break someone's neck. But that's just me being a boring mom about it.
I don't know.
Um,
I agree. That's no, that's scary.
Yeah, I'm just from the
Basement
Fugazi
shows.
school.
It's
Yeah.
uh, that's. I also. Did you say you went to Fugazi school?
No, I said I was gonna say I'm in the
Kind of missed
Fugazi
that.
school of like
Right.
show etiquette.
Oh,
Just like please don't hurt each other.
Yeah.
We're gonna
yeah.
stop playing if you're hurting
Yeah.
each other. So
Yeah.
I'm in that camp too, and whenever I'm at shows, I just kind of awkwardly stand to the side because everybody, especially at screamo shows, people are really violent.
yeah,
I think I
I don't.
discussed this last time, but there was this host. It was after like a Show Me the Body, I think Zulu Soul Glow show, and these two
Mhm.
people were in the ICU after the show because they got their noses broken.
Oh my god.
And the two people like uh became mutuals from what I remember because I posted about it and they found each other.
Oh
So
my
I thought that
god.
was funny. Yeah.
That's really funny.
Yeah. But,
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
want it
the
to
nose
become
breaking
like
part, but
when I was like in my late teens and early 20s, like metalcore was really big. I
Oh
feel like
yeah.
every local scene was just like a metalcore scene with some other bands. And it was really bad back then with just like the karate, like windmill spin kick shit. And like, I
Oh
just like,
yeah.
I don't want that to come back in like any form. So I hope it like cools off a little bit. I just don't want
I
people
have
to get hurt
some
at shows.
I have some bad news then.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I don't really go
Uh,
to shows, so I don't
Yeah.
know what's
yeah,
going on.
Yeah. It's
right.
unfortunately there's a bit of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like these 16-year-olds who've
Yeah.
never played to an empty crowd, they're calling the shots now.
Yeah.
Oh man, I hope they like enjoy it while it lasts because it is so demoralizing playing to no people. And like I feel like it's more heartbreaking when you do it in reverse like that. Like when you
Oh
start playing
yeah.
to no people and then like you don't anymore, that's like very gratifying and you're like, cool, we like did a great thing, we made cool songs, people like it. But when you just start out on top, that's going to be so depressing and I feel bad. I hope it doesn't happen to them, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
just brace for it, I guess.
But yeah, uh, yeah, I don't know. The whole like s- trendy screamo shit is just like it befuddles me. Like I really don't understand how this happens. Like I checked Merchant Ship's Spotify. They were another Count Your Lucky Stars band, right?
I think they were on count.
Uh
Yeah, were they? I don't know. They were a few years younger than me. Um,
yeah.
yeah, they might have had
But
like an
I
EP on
checked
Count Your
and they
Lucky
have like
Stars.
yeah. They had like 200,000 monthly listeners and I'm like, what the fuck happened?
Screamo's back. That's what happened. I like sold.
Yeah.
I sold a Street Smart Cyclist 7-inch to someone in that band once, and it was like really awkward.
Oh my god.
They were like, "Oh, I've been
My
looking for
God.
it." I was like, "I have an extra. Like, I'll just bring it, and you like pay me what you think is fair." And then they like gave me the money, and I was like, "That's too much money," and I like gave half of it back.
Oh my god.
Uh I was just listening to in preparation for you to come on. I listened to like the whole Snowing discography. I listened to, Street Smart Smike. I can't speak. Street Smart Cyclist's
It's a tough one
discography, and
in
then I listened
retrospect.
um and then I listened to a bunch of Oasis songs because I know
Oh
you
yeah.
love Oasis.
Okay, well, you brought yourself down and then you brought yourself back up. I appreciate that. Yo, they
Um,
had me fooled. I thought they were reuniting last week. Like, they got me. And they keep
I
getting me
think
over
I
and
think
over with
everyone
this.
did.
I was so mad. I was so mad this time. I
They
was like, it's
played us like a
happening.
damn fiddle.
Yeah.
I
Like,
don't
it's the
think that'll
30th
ever happen.
anniversary. Yeah. And you know what? It sucks because it's Noel. It's Noel being an asshole. I think Liam would do it because I think
Of
Liam wants the
course.
money. But Noel is definitely just
Oh
like
sure.
being super stubborn. And it sucks because he's the talented one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. Like, I could never. The only Britpop that ever clicked with me was Pulp, and I think that's because I was a huge David Bowie fan in high school, and I think
Yeah.
Jarvis Cocker kind of sounds like David Bowie. Like,
Yeah,
there's
Pulp
this
is
theatrical element to their
right.
music.
Pulp is way more glam rock, and Oasis was just like,
Oh yeah.
we love the Beatles. We're gonna write more of those songs,
Yeah.
which is like fine. Those if you're gonna write more songs, do it like that because they were great. But yeah, they're all those bands that got pitted against each other were like so different. It's weird that they're all just like Britpop,
Yeah.
like Blur. What? That's not. They don't sound anything like those other two bands. It's weird.
It's
They just
true.
looped them all
Well, it's
together.
it's the same thing with it's the same thing with grunge. It's just a marketing thing. Like, I don't think
Mm.
Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, and Soundgarden, none of those bands sound anything alike.
Yeah, you're right. Like no band sounds like Nirvana. No band is as good as Nirvana. I think
Yeah.
all those other bands sound more similar than any of those bands sound to Nirvana, if that makes sense. Nirvana's just like a pop band
Right.
with like,
Yeah.
Big Muff Distortion. Like they were just like great
Yeah.
songwriters. Not saying like
I
those
rem
other
I
bands
didn't
weren't.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, Steve Albini, he called Nirvana REM with a fuzzbox.
Yeah, that sounds about
That's
right.
kind of
And
true.
I also love REM, so I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think we've ever like discussed REM in depth, but what is your favorite REM album?
Oh my god, my favorite album? Oh, there's like a cutoff point where I don't really love it anymore. I don't know.
Is
I
it
love
like after Out of Time?
It's probably after Automatic for the People because I love Automatic for the People. Maybe like
Yeah.
Reckoning is my favorite, and then probably like Document. Um, I've never tried to rank them. They're all like so different. I think the first two are like pretty similar. Like
Right.
Reckoning is just like, oh, here's
Yeah.
more murmur and it sounds better.
Yeah.
But they really got like pretty
Right.
crazy as they went on. Like there was kind of like a weird lo-fi era. Then like Monster was like a glam rock album almost in some
Yeah.
ways, and yeah, like
Yeah.
every album has like songs I love. Like there are some of their songs like I listen to it, I'm just like, how did a human being write this? Like it doesn't make any fucking sense. Like this sounds like it was just like given to us by like some sort of god. And I just love that band. They're so special.
REM is just kind of that good.
I think they're underrated in like a weird way. Like I think like all
I
of American
was
indie
just
rock
about to say,
is like
Yeah.
descended directly from them, and I don't think they get enough credit for that.
what's
It's true.
interesting about REM is that I think unlike a band such as the Smiths, they never saw kind of a Gen Z resurgence. Uh,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
where REM never found their audience beyond millennials. Uh, like I have to sit down with somebody and be like, you have to listen to like Automatic for the People by REM. You have to listen to my personal favorite REM record is Green. And people are like, what the fuck are you talking about? Why do you like Green so much? And I'm like, I don't know. I just like that one. I like Stand. My mom used to play me Stand. So, I
Oh,
like Green a lot.
Stand is
Um,
so good.
and
Yeah, I think they
yeah,
just like broke up and they just broke up. I think that's why they never like
Yeah.
made a big inroads with like Gen Z. Like nothing blew up on TikTok. They just weren't
Right.
around. But I mean they just played randomly like last
and
week at that award show, which blew my mind.
yeah.
Um
Uh, and also I don't think that any of them really had careers like past REM.
yeah, like
Uh,
they all kept
it
playing
wasn't like
music. But like
Yeah.
I don't know, like Michael Stipe never had a huge like solo career or anything, but they were all just in bands. I think Michael Stipe did
Yeah.
some solo stuff, but like, Peter Buck was in bands and like Mike Mills was in band. Peter Buck's like my favorite guitarist of all time, I'm pretty sure. It's like him and Johnny Marr. God, he's so good.
I was
Yeah, it's
I
understandable.
was just about to I was just about to say that yeah, with a band like the Smiths, I mean Johnny Marr, he played in
Mhm.
uh just saying that band's name out loud for the first time sounds wrong. Uh like
the
the yeah.
it's
And he
an
played in Modest
obnoxious name.
Mouse.
That a Modest Mouse record he's on is so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It really
Yeah.
is.
Uh and then Morrissey had his interesting solo
Solo career.
yeah, that's
He God.
uh, I'm
He
I'm
is the most
I'm glad
disappointing
Michael
person.
Stipe didn't.
Yeah.
Oh no, Michael Stipe is a perfect
Yeah.
human. As far as I know, I don't want to know anything
No,
bad about
yeah.
him. If you know something, don't tell me. Morrissey could not have gone worse. Like dark timeline, like making all the worst decisions. Like I cannot believe. Like I loved that band when I was younger. Like I feel like all the lyrics, like I was like. I don't know. I really like understood them and they meant something to me. They were all about being like lonely and like they're like way over the top, obviously. And like as I got older, I appreciated
I
that. I was like,
mean,
oh, this is like high camp and it's
I
like
mean,
funny, but like he got so
Yeah.
bad in so many ways I could have never like anticipated. And it's just so disappointing. He was just like so big to me. The Smiths were like such a big influence on me. And it's like, I don't know. I can't listen to it. It's not like I make a conscious decision. I like I hear a Smiths song now and I'm just like, oh, bummer, man. It's like all I think about is like him being super racist, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, regarding the comments about, them singing about loneliness and it being high camp, you were in an emo band. You were in two fairly influential emo bands.
That's true. And I hope people didn't take it seriously because that's like, it's like one thing I never liked about emo. I guess it's in retrospect now, just like lyrical content sometimes, just like, this is sometimes not great. I think we were fine, but some other bands like went way over the top with it, and it's just like, well, this is a little misogynistic.
Yeah.
You're not the center of the
Oh,
universe,
yeah.
Oh,
male frontman.
uh,
I think John is more
but the thing with
self-deprecating and knows better, but of some other bands, I'm just like, man, this is gonna
Yeah.
age like milk. This is so bad.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing with the fourth wave of emo is that I would say it started off pretty strong. Like it was you guys, Algernon, Glockamora, and a number of others. And then it just became this like pop emo, like Mom Jeans or what's the other one? Like a modern
What?
baseball, and it all like reads as like really gross and misogynistic to me, and I just can't. Mom jeans are just lame as fuck, dude.
I think it was a
Like
lot of like,
there's no other way to describe that band.
yeah, I like
Uh,
have heard them, but it's not something I would ever like go back and listen to. I think like that was all kids that would have been in pop punk bands, but they just like kind of started emo bands and couldn't
Right.
keep all the pop punk out of it. Like
Yeah.
there's pop punk bands I love, especially like that wave right before then. Like I love Newfound Glory. That band was awesome, you know? Like the really hardcore influenced pop punk. But I think they all
Oh,
just kind
yeah.
of started emo bands and it all kind of bled together. But yeah, that was like not my thing. Like I always tell people
Yeah.
I don't even really like emo. And like that's kind of the stuff I'm talking about. Like I don't
Right. Yeah.
I never want to like disparage it, but it's like now I never go to listen to it on purpose. Like sometimes it'll come on,
Yeah.
I'll have like my Spotify on shuffle and like a Promise Ring song will come on and I'll be like, hell yes, I love this song so much.
Oh, yeah.
And then it passes and then like
well, I
a Yes song comes on and I'm like, hell yeah, I love prog rock. Here we go.
Yeah.
I think the thing with second wave emo in particular is that it is heavily influenced by indie rock in a way that none of the other waves were.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the first wave it was
Hmm.
influenced by hardcore. Second wave
Right.
indie rock. Third wave is just like pop punk.
Hmm.
Fourth wave is you know, trying to be the second wave bands. And then fifth wave is like Brave Little Abacus worship.
Hmm.
Uh but like yeah, it's like the Promise Ring or Sunny Day Real Estate or Kirsty Front Drive. They just have such a different vibe than any other emo band, I think.
Yeah, I think like the focus was
Yeah.
on the songs and the songwriting back then, like a whole lot more. And
Hmm.
like the instrument, like the
Yeah.
instrumentation part of it was just like that's kind of just what happened. I think it's very instrument
Yeah.
and guitar first now. It's just like,
Yeah.
man,
For
I
sure.
sound like such an old person, but like it is a lot of just like let's write the sickest riffs and try to cobble them into songs. And
Yeah.
I don't that's I think I did that at one point too, but like it was something I tried to not do as I got older and started listening to like
Right.
more kinds of music. And I think it's just people listening to only the genre of music they play and it becomes an echo chamber. And I would just like
Yeah.
my one tip is like listen to a lot of different stuff. Like you'll be better at playing music and writing songs like instantly. I think that's why like we were pretty good. Like it wasn't just like let's just like rip off our 10 favorite Cap'n Jazz songs or like our 10 favorite Braid songs. Like there was like
Yeah.
goofy stuff. Like I don't know, there's like songs that have like surf rock vibes, and there's like songs that are all screaming, and there's like slow songs with an we
Yeah.
just wanted to do different stuff, and it wasn't just like we didn't stay in our lane completely. I wish we could have kept making more music. I think the next album would have like really upset people, but I think I would have left it.
Uh, because I know Bigweed is just isn't the riff literally from a Superchunk song?
Yeah, like the rhythm of like the verses, the guitar part is like straight out of a Superchunk song. It's Silverleaf and Snowy Tears. Yeah. I don't think I did that on purpose. I realized it later, and I was like, "Oh, dude, oops."
Right.
But different chords, different chord changes, so it was fine. But I think that's the
Right.
direction we were going in. It was just like, let's just be like a power pop band and write songs with like verses and choruses and bridges. We had a few written, and I really liked them, and we played them on tour,
awesome.
but never got them recorded. I think they would have been really cool, but people would have been like, "This is not emo." It would have been like the Promise Ring, like very emergency situation, like when they were like, "Let's be a power
Oh
pop
god.
band." I think, but it would have been a better album, I think, even though I like some songs on there.
This is maybe my power pop bias, but it feels like the logical like endpoint of any emo band is just to become a power pop band.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
like
I'm thinking of what is it? Madison from Augbert. Uh, I know they're playing right near me, like next week, and with their power pop project.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
just like a weird
and it's
pipeline, and
like,
I don't know why it sucks everyone in. I
Yeah.
think I know for me, I was just like, I am really tired of these guitar parts. Like they're so stupid
Yeah.
and so hard to play. And every time like Snowden has to play a show, I have to like relearn them, and I'm just like, what was I doing? Like why? I had to like last time we played, I literally watched someone else's video of them playing it to relearn it. And I was just like,
Yeah.
this is embarrassing.
No, I
oh,
hope power pop gets big next. I hope that's the next wave.
I I I tweeted something like that recently.
Really.
Like, yeah, it was. I'll find it. It was something like, I'm just gonna search power pop on my Twitter. Uh, Screamo Bubble will burst soon and bring in a new age of power pop.
I will return.
Uh,
I
Actually,
will
I can get
return
on
to
that.
playing music if that
Please.
happens. Like I will come back. Like I don't even care. Just like teenage fan club worship. That's all I want to do.
Oh my god! Like,
yeah,
I'm praying for that.
please.
Like,
I mean, there's like a whole kind of power pop thing going on right now. Like, I know
yeah.
this band Liquid Mike, they got pretty big in like the past year, but I was there when they had like 1,000 monthly listeners, and
Huh.
their like self-titled album, I think it is just like power pop, and it's like, yeah, this rules.
Oh, I'll listen to that. I love. Oh,
Um,
you ever listen to Super Crush? I
Yeah.
love that band. I think they're still a band, but they just sound
Oh
like
yeah.
yeah,
Teenage Fan Club,
Yeah.
and it's the best.
Well, yeah. That's not a bad thing.
um,
Yeah.
Absolutely not. That's a fine band to rip off
I,
of. You're allowed to do that.
Yeah.
um, all right, so we're nearing the end of the episode, and what I like to do is have, you know, recommendations for specific recommendations for people to check out. So, Willow, why don't you go first? Sorry to put you on the spot, but
Oh, that's
what
fine.
would you recommend people
Does
check out?
does it just need to be one thing, or can I have like a couple?
You can recommend as many things as you want.
Okay, here's my list of 50 recommendations. I'm just kidding. Um, well, now that we were talking about REM, if you haven't listened to REM and you think they're like a
Yeah.
lame band, like just go and listen to REM. Just like start at the beginning. Just it's never bad. They're such a good band. They're very important, and I love them dearly. Other than that, ugh. Man, I feel like I should have a movie recommendation. Oh, I just saw like the Elvira movie for the first time. Weirdly, I don't know how I like missed that. It's like a comedy from '88. It's fantastic. I think you all should watch that. um, oh, and my other thing is I've been really into pinball lately. I'm like so into pinball. Me and my partner have been like I joined a league. I played last week. I didn't come in last place. But find an arcade and go play pinball. It's very fun. And that's it.
Yeah. All right. Gwen, do you have any recommendations?
I I should have thought about that before he started, but I didn't. I don't think I do really. I don't know. Start listening to Power Pop now for when it gets
Yes.
big in another year or two. So get
Yeah.
ahead of the curve.
My recommendation is also Power Pop. Uh, I found this record. I think it was like a compilation of a band from a very obscure band from like the 80s, 70s or 80s called the Comets. If you just look up the Comets on Spotify, they have like a compilation of all their songs and it's really solid power pop. I would go check that out. I also want to shout out another record I found this week called Meaningless Off-Screen Death by Ivy
Oh,
Synthetic. Yeah. It's like Gwen, I know you've heard that
oh
record. How
yeah.
would you describe that?
Um, it's interesting because it's kind of hard to describe a little because of like some of the songs being very different than a lot of the other songs on the
Yeah.
album. But
It's like it has that one Vocaloid song
it does
just
have
like in the
one
middle of
Vocaloid
it.
song. It's it's really good though. I remember
Yeah,
listening
that
to it the day it came out, and I was like, "Oh, this might be one of my favorite albums of the year."
yeah. But if you're like a fan of like Ipo.psk or like
Yeah,
uh
yeah.
you sent me Wintermute, right?
Oh
That
yeah.
was the name of the yeah, if you're a fan of that sort of music, go check out the record Meaningless Off-Screen Death by Ivy Synthetic. Really great stuff. Would, recommend obviously. Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for coming on, Willow. We really enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. This was so nice.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Uh, bye.
Bye.
Bye.